Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Wednesday night fun here with the boys and girls of MRC. Tonight's MRC Tier 3 live from the deserts of Bahrain, the Middle East country of wealth and magnificence. And speaking of magnificence, my co-coms today is a man who is even more than magnificent. It is Rob, the Internet Fuels Genie.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. That's very nice. Yes, we were just speaking on before. I can confirm live on the stream that I now have the good internet.
This is not a drill.
It's very quick and it's very scary. And it may make me slower on track because people actually will know where I am, so they can pass me fairly.
I was about to ask, will this make you faster on track? Is the life somehow holding you back? But that's the wrong effect. Get the bad internet back again.
I think it's been my secret weapon all these years. But anyway, we're not here to talk about my internet. We're here to talk about some wonderful Tier 3 drivers. I'm looking forward to this one.
Wait, oh yeah, we got racing. Oh, I nearly forget. Well, I was so lost by your new internet that I missed out on the minor detail of the Brum Brum cars. So, the first car on track is Tobias Bandstorp in the Aston Martin, chased down. Oh, he's been overtaken. Not by Connor, but by Night Shadow, who wants these two having a little tussle to be the first to set a lap, it would seem. There's a little bit of juiciness on the outlaps, boys.
Gavin apology after my last comms with him. I think I was commentating on in Abu Dhabi. I spent the whole stream referring to him as a mad Scotsman because he was running 0-1 wings. I mean, if you're going to run 0-1 wings at any place, this might be the place to do it. So
it might.
Yeah, interesting to see how he goes.
Did you want to talk us through the lap that Night Shadow's about to pop in?
Yeah, let's go for it. All right, down the main straight, DRS. Open all the way, you're looking down to the left-hand side, looking for that 100-metre ball break, and then you're swinging the car in there. Just want to kiss that curve. That's very neatly done. Through this tricky section 2 here, corner 2, you don't want to lose any traction on the way through. He's done that perfectly. Then we're on to another big straight. You're looking about that 100 or that place where the barrier starts on the left-hand side. He's done that again. This is another place that you can lose the rear, but Gav's kept that nice and planted right into 5, 6 and 7 along sweeping turns. Could be a little bit smoother through there, but he's done that quite well. And just a little change in the green on the left hand side as your braking point, as you hook it in. Right now we're onto one of the toughest corners on the track, 9. It's so hard to pick your braking point as you go through here. It just tightens all the way through, and again you want to make sure you keep your traction there. Gav's kept that very well through there. DRS open again through this middle sector. Possible passing opportunity if you can't get the traction down out of that corner. Right, and now we're into the place with the curbs of death. Used to be an awful place on F1 2021. I haven't lost it as many times going through here, but you do have to be a bit careful on the traction. Left and then hook it in, right, and then you're into a final stretch here now. You've got one last straight, one more little bit of breathing room. You've really got a lot of time to pick your braking point at 100 metres. Just a little bit down there, and it's all about getting on the power once again. Wait till your DRS open, and then you're across the line. Let's see what that's taken in. 130.428. That's a very respectable lap. Bandstorp coming in behind with a 130.8 as well.
Indeed, we've got Palang just about to cross the line as a 29.8, so
speedy
already under that 30 threshold. Dirty 30s, nah. It's all about the feeling fine 29s at the moment for Palang and the Williams. Who else is on a lap? Oh, Kaiser Soze goes over into the dirty 30 as well. That's going to be a theme for the night. Ty Clear, don't know about you, but Ty Clear's done a 1 minute 32. There's my Taylor Swift reference. I've managed to get one of those into stream. That's embarrassing. I should never do that again. Connor, the hard man Hardy, is the next across the line. He is a 131.8. Of course, a lot of these laps are banker laps. Oh, Ty Clear's just gone into the wall. He's in the first sector. I believe that's turn 6.
All the wheels are on though, so that seems okay for him. At least he can carry on and put in another lap later in the session.
Indeed. Fanning, although 147.4, you did read that correctly. He's a high tier driver, currently reserving, and thus he's not allowed to use the soft tyre. So that's why he's on the nice, super sticky but hot tyres, which are not designed for these conditions. Right. B17 in the Ferrari, another dirty 30 with a 30.9. And Boothie with on 30.3. So got quite a good spread of times already coming across. Plenty of people still in the pits though. It's got Red Car Rambo, Gibbon, Single Track, Kenichi Beach, Neil and Mark Hodgson, also joined by Stringy B as well, apologies, all are currently in the pits at the moment. Barnestop has just returned to the pits having set his lap.
Yeah, we've got quite a few reserves, haven't we, today? We've got 6 in total, I think, from Red Car, Bit, Mark, Confetti, Single Track, and Fanning, at least.
Exactly.
It's Confetti not in there. I might have said Confetti wrong. I can't see him in there. He might have been replaced later on.
He might have been replaced, yes. Yeah. So, of course, all higher tier reserves are to use either the medium or hard, or even the wet compounds tyres if they wish in qualifying. They are not to use the softer compounds. It's just to allow those guys from the tier of whom this lovely tier belongs to have a fair fight for their championship. So the Mercedes duo going for the slipstream tactic down the main straight here, heading towards turn 1. That's Ghost Rider and Rob Smith, both on laps at the moment. Rob Smith currently on the softs, although the timing screen shows him on the mediums. He might well have used them for an outlap earlier on. So
that's a bold move to use the slipstream round here. I don't know if you've ever been able to do it. I'm always worried that I would hold my teammate up, or I'm just not good enough to be consistent, and we won't end up going into the back of each other. I always like a bit more clean air. Have you ever used the slipstream tactic? Not here. I've used it in other tracks. My lovely teammate in Tier 1 currently is Bergen, and he's a fantastic teammate.
But he and I have both tried the slipstream option a few times, and we found that, yes, it works. Yes, it does help. But ultimately, as we're seeing from the two Mercedes who are now quite far apart on track suddenly, whilst it does work in some parts of track, and others, such as the section Rob Smith is currently in, you do need the fresh, clean air to push the wings into the ground, get that maximum downforce. And, it just doesn't really work, with the exception of maybe Monza. And even then, Parabolica, Ascari and the Lesmos, you do lose time. And you also, if you're watching another car ahead, that distracts you, does it not? Second.
Yeah, oh gosh, that was a very good lap. Yeah, I think Ghost Rider had a little bit of a moment behind him, and that's why they're so far apart at the moment. But yeah, no, you're right. I get distracted by other cars. I'm following them when I should be looking out for my braking points, and qualifying is all about that perfect lap, isn't it? And it's just little things can put you off, particularly if you're not used to it. So yeah, only real power tracks I think it's worth doing, and yeah, maybe this is one you could do with it with the amount of long straights it has, but Monza I think is the only really viable option.
Yeah, generally speaking, as we see Toby Banstock lining up for his lap, the Swedish meatball, the IKEA boy out of the closet, lining up for the final corner. He's got a nice bit of track ahead of him. No, generally find that if you're following another car, doesn't matter if it's a teammate or not, you're constantly thinking about their line rather than your line, and if they have a moment, it's too easy to distract you. I would rather go it alone. There's been far more, like Abu Dhabi, me and Bergen discussed about the slipstream, and we both opted to go it solo. We discussed it and tried it and didn't like it in practice, so yeah, it doesn't work for everyone.
What do you think about this track then? Are you a fan of Bahrain, or?
Yes, I love it. I love Bahrain. I like it in this rendition. I don't like the World Endurance rendition that we had in 2010 for 1 year that did not work. I did like the outer loop, but I wouldn't like that on a regular basis. I thought it was a bit too much of a go-kart track. But I like Bahrain in its original form, which is what we have now. What about yourself?
Yeah, I struggle with it. I think it's deceptive. Everybody puts it down as a power track, and you need to be quite skinny on the wings so you're not just gobbled up on the straights, because there's so much opportunity for passing around here. But I don't think it really is a power track, because there's lots of corners, and I'm going to sound really technical here, but they're all super pointy. Do you get what I mean? Like, there's not... Yes. They're not like those flowing corners of, if you compare it to somewhere like Saudi Arabia, which is a power track, but all the corners sort of flow into each other and you really get a rhythm. Bahrain's quite a stop-start track. You got a lot of time to think before the next corner, and then you hook it in. Gosh, that's a good lap from Bastorp, by the way. Indeed. Top there with a 129.4, 0.4 seconds faster than anyone, so he's obviously fine with this track. But yeah, for for me, I just find those, maybe it's just my driving style, I struggle into those hard braking zones, and there's an awful lot of them around this track. I think it's quite tough on the brakes.
I agree. It's also a very abrasive surface. You get a few off camber corners, such as turn 4. That's one I really despise, is turn 4. It feels like the track falls away from you a little bit, and there's a lack of grip on the mid corner and the exit itself. So you turn in and there's grip, and then suddenly there's nothing.
Yeah, and I've seen so many cars just lose the back end and spear rightwards into that wall. I think it happened to a driver in front of me in Tier 2, and it's like, you just look at it and shake your head and you go, yep, I've done that so many times. You want to get on the power early, don't you? You want to get on the power so early at every one of these corners, because you know you're going to just lose time down the straights if you don't. But yeah, it can be quite impactful on your lap time if you just decide to spear it into a wall instead.
Indeed. I find turn 10, which is at the end of the middle sector DRS straight, I find that's a corner that's really fun but very easy to get wrong. If you brake too late, you miss the apex, you're off. If you carry too much speed in, you understeer wide. And if you got on the throttle too early, even if you get the perfect line, we're going to see BA17 come flying through it now. If you get on the throttle too early, you find there's not quite enough grip. But that's the only, turn 10 and 11 into 12, it's the only section of track that really has any flow. And as you mentioned there, it's very, it's like a stop-start, point and squirt kind of track, to be honest, I find. And the setup's not as simple as one would like, I think.
Yeah, there's always that balance to be found. Like I said, Night Shadow's probably running 0-1 wings again, and that'll be great. Maybe over the course of the lap, because like I said, there's lots of opportunities for passing around here, but they are really just down the straights. So if you can defend down there without using too much of your ERS, then yeah, you're in the money really. But you'll really struggle in those corners. There's a lot of very tight corners around here, and you can't underestimate them.
Indeed. So, Bahrain, a country where, did you know, on average it rains between 3 and 4 days a year here?
I didn't know. So wet race coming up then. Basically, I put a wet setup in there just in case, but I don't think we've ever had rain here in the MRC.
No, and nor in real life F1, although we're seeing Fanning currently out there, and we've seen Bitt out there on the intermediate tyres getting plenty of data in the bank. It's weird. I actually know someone who works out there at the moment, and they said that there was a day where it rained very briefly. It was a huge hailstorm and then it disappeared again. And he said everyone treated it as if the second coming was coming, or as if there was a disaster on the horizon, and they all freaked out by it. But that said, there was a moment in Tier 3 at Abu Dhabi, and I believe it was Season 7. It was in the early days of Bailey commentary. So they were dark days for MRC. But, you know, we've made it this far. Anyway, I made a joke, I think it was with Geke, who is racing the McLaren today. I made a joke in the qualifying that there could be rain, you know, just obviously taking the mick. And then it actually rained in Abu Dhabi in qualifying for Tier 3. And I had messages from Simba, from Connor, from Gav, saying, what the hell have you done? How have you done this? And of course, I found it hilarious to watch everyone in Abu Dhabi have no idea what to do. But, you know, the drivers didn't.
I mean, that's the ultimate commentator's curse, isn't it? I'm having a look at Bitt and Fanning going around on Inters at the moment. Maybe they're just testing the wet setup out because it's going to be a wet race. Who knows? We don't. We're not privy to that information. So, maybe we heard it here first.
Exactly. You see Bitt get nicely out of the way for other drivers. It's quite an easy track to get out of the way here if you need to. And demonstrating it nicely. And as you say, he and Fanning are both on the intermediates having a bit of fun. Also, if you like a little drifting session, the Inters, the way the rears in particular warm up, it's just perfect. Speaking of warming up, Single Track's warming himself up. Of course, he's one of our other higher tier reserves you mentioned earlier. He's in the Williams, the beautiful Williams. And I know Martin doesn't like it because, as many allude to, the steering wheel has the fixed screen rather than the centre screen on the wheel. But Martin's a big fan of Damon Hill. He drove for Williams and he won a world championship for them, so he must secretly like Williams.
Yeah, I don't know, was it said at the start of the season everybody's secretly a Ferrari fan? I think deep down everybody's secretly a Williams fan. Everybody wants them to sort of recover a little bit, don't they? It's no fun seeing them down in the doldrums.
Yeah, so. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I am actually quite a big Williams fan, as most people in MRC are probably clocked onto by now. But speaking of things which don't look too right, people saying about the steering wheel and the Williams not looking right, in the YouTube chat, Monsters arrived, and he says that Hodgie, in anything other than a McLaren, doesn't look right. Well, I do agree, but there was a time in MRC when Mr. Hodgson only raced in a Mercedes, pre-McLaren days. So, Mr. Monster, you and your swapping from McLaren to Ferrari and back again allegiances can get back in your box, sunshine. But whilst we're looking at the YouTube chat, hello to Martin Hills, hello to Manny Grantham, and hello to Calvin Mack, all popping up to say good day. Always nice to have some friendly faces in there. Pop up and say hello. We're nice and friendly. Come and have a chat with us. Anywho, Martin completes his lap on the medium tyres as per the reserve regulations and pops it into 11th. Good lap that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Very good lap for the mediums.
Look at some of the time these boys are doing. That Bandstorp lap at the front, that's quicker than any lap I managed in Tier 2. These boys, you don't underestimate them. They've got some serious pace. And as we know, Bandstorp is, sort of tearing it up at the moment. Last race I watched with him in Abu Dhabi, it was a fairly standard win. I just wonder if he's, if we're going to do an early commentator's curse, if we're going to pick somebody at the moment.
Shall we do it? Shall we do it?
I'll do it. I'll curse him and I'll get it. I'll say Bandstorp for the win. So it'd be fun to see you in the wall turn 1, because that's what we always have.
Well, I picked. Oh, and Hodgie's got rounds coming up turn 10. Oh, Hodge. I was just about to say his teammate Hodgie is on a lap on the mediums, going quite nicely, getting himself ready for the session. But Hodgie's had a moment. Oh, he's got to get into the wall. Oh dear, let's let him have some peace and quiet. Let's look at Geke in the McLaren. But whilst we're on topic of Bandstorp, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. He's running no assists, which, let's be real, takes some doing. If you're, if you're serious about F1, you surely want to go towards it if you're, wanting to push yourself for the ultimate challenge. But it's not for everyone. But he's actually very new to both F1, the games, and the sport. He's only got into it this summer, in fact. So to go from not playing the games to running no assists in that short space of time, that's very impressive.
That is very impressive, and at the same time makes me feel like a complete moron for having played these games my entire life and still being quite slow. So no, it is terrifying. Well done for being so good at the game so fast. That's a young mind for you, isn't it? They're just capable of so much more than my old slow man brain.
That said, younger people learn things faster, and he's also in that time gone from playing on pad controller to getting himself his first racing rig.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that does help, of course. But he's learnt to it beautifully, and he's doing just fine. Although he's in the pits, he's not come out for his final runs, which most are on. Rob Smith is only 400 off him, and Geke loses it now. Oh, Geke. Let's see what Neil can do. Neil's coming across the finish line now. Pops it to P9, big improvement with a 30.3. Lots of dirty 30s going on still, down from P7 to P12. Sorry, P6 to P12 either. Let's see where Kyle says that he's pitting, ignore him. Boothie goes P4 to 29.8. Rob Smith has completed his time. Ghost Rider, he's aborting his lap, but he's P3. Mercedes 2-3. We haven't seen that for a while. Who else is out there? We've got Connor. Nope. B17's not on a lap. Single track's on a lap, but I don't know if he's going to improve. He does by 900. I lied. I'm sorry, everyone. I fibbed. Stringy B's invalidated. Carlines has just pitted, and then there's Geke Matthews, who does not look to be improving. So we have a grid. This is good. This is important. We need this. So the Toby fan club's already in full force in the comments. Calvin leading the way with that, and of course we have already cursed him. I cursed Palang on Monday, and it was going rather well for him in Tier 2, his first Tier 2 race. He's doing rather well, so he's clearly got some speed in him. Boothie with a very good lap there in the Haas. He's really stepped up this season. I'm very impressed with the man from Rotherham. But we've got a McLaren sandwich, 19th and 20, right at the back of the field, just to round things off as well. So don't count the Papaya Boys to come through and spoil the show for those ahead of them. Righty ho. There we go. Manouche says Toby for Tier 1. I don't disagree with you there. He's blindingly quick and terrifies the hell out of me. He takes pole position today, chased closely by the Mercedes duo of Rob Smith and Ghost Rider. Boothie, Palang, Konnichiwa, Kaiser Soze, Night Shadow, Neil and Ty Clear make up your top 10, as we briefly discussed most of those. Just outside the top 10, P11 for Connor, 12 for B17, Single Track 13th, unlucky for some, hopefully not for him. 14th for Stringy B, 15th for Red Car Rambo, 16th for Givan, 17th for Mark H, 18th for Fanning, who's keen to make up for what was not an ideal Monday. Bits P19, and last but definitely not least is Geke Matthews. So we've both predicted Toby Banstorp, the Swedish absolute machine that he is, to have a strong race. Of course, there are 19 other drivers here, and we know that Bahrain's a track you can fight and can battle on. So what could happen?
Well, an awful lot. The key for this race here is always seeing if you can build out a lead at the start. Getting out of that DRS train is crucial. If you can build a 2 second gap at the front and then keep it, you might just be able to skip away home free. Otherwise, if you get caught up in that DRS train, it's so easy just to sort of tag on to somebody's slipstream around here. There's 1, 2, 3 DRS zones around here.
Correct.
So, yeah, there's an awful lot of opportunity for the pack to stay quite tightly together. And don't forget, we've got, 5 Tier 2 drivers at the back? They've qualified on the mediums, but they'll be quick in the race and they'll be looking to make their way through the pack.
Indeed. So we have our green lights. The formation lap begins. Right, so let's have a quick look at the tyre details going on onto each car, if I can actually do this correctly. So, no one taking the plunge for the soft tyre at the start. It's a quite standard one-stop race here, two-stop. Whilst you can do it, it's not wise. So no one's taking that soft tyre to start with. The hard and the mediums here are the preferable ones, and quite an even split of medium to hards across the grid. Boothie in the fourth, the first car to run the hards, and then in the back six, all bar back Geke Matthews are on the hards as well. So the majority of the tier 2 runners, as you mentioned there, have taken that option to run the hard tyre to start with.
That's a really bold option from Boothie, and I quite like it. Those guys at the front, put on the mediums, put on the softest try and break away, that's fine. But Boothie, if you can keep in that DRS train with your hards and make sure you're pretty much up their backside when they go to pit, you know you've got that kind of tyre advantage in hand when you're going into the pits. You know, you've been able to make up for it with the DRS, so it'd be really interesting to see how he manages the strategy of this race now.
Indeed. I think it's a good call. I don't know about yourself, but on Monday I found the hards were quite nice, to be honest.
I preferred them as a race tyre around here. I don't know if it's sort of like the heavier fuel loads at the start and how easy it is to lose it under traction around here. The mediums give you just a little bit of security in those opening laps, but you know, I was actually, for once, I was much happier once I put the hards on.
Yeah, I definitely think the hards are good. If there is an early safety car, don't be surprised to see everyone pit and change their strategy. Safety cars here, we had 1 in Tier 2 on Monday, and we had 3 in Tier 1 on Monday. So don't be surprised after a week and a half of no safety cars in MRC. Don't be surprised if tonight we have a repetition of Monday with plenty of opportunity for people to find a wall. It does happen here, despite being a very wide track, it does happen. And just as we found Monday, the camera angles that the game gives us are not the nicest, but the final cars are coming around the final corner and we take their grid slots. Anyone taking an aggressive grid slot? Can we see? Oh, yes, Palang's gone quite aggressive. Otherwise, everyone else seems to be pretty straight. No one messes around like I do and goes for nice 45-degree angles. That's a shame. I quite like it myself. I like that new feature that you can position the car. It's quite good. But here we go. We have some lights. Well, we don't, but Oh, here we go. And now the strategy comes up. Oh, that's interesting. We have 5 lights and we are racing in the desert of Bahrain. I was going to say Dubai. Toby gets a great start, absolutely flying away. You see the pack dicing already all over the track, looking for any room they can find. Toby leads into turn 1 even. Palang is up to second. He's jumped both of the Mercedes. Disaster for those boys. Boothie's dropped down to P5. Big moment on the exit of turn 3. Is he now vulnerable to collision? We've got a Grosjean incident at the back. It's one of the Alfa Romeos.
Oh, it's Connor. That was such a shame. I was watching it. I thought, oh, blimey, we're going to get everybody safely through corner 2, because that's the one that catches everyone out. I think Connor just had a little bit of bad luck there. We might see that in the stewards later, but head down, lad. As we said, we've got lots of safety car opportunities around here. Your race isn't over.
Far from it. That was literally a Romain Grosjean moment. We just saw at the back of the screen there. Of course, that's a very fiery and fiery event. Oh, collision! We've got Konnichiwa Beach has just had a big moment. Looks like he was tapped by somebody again. I'm sure that we brought up in shooting later on. Leave that there for the time being. Stringy B now all in the back of Ty Clear, and then his teammate Boothie for P5, 6 and 7. Just behind them is Kaiser Soze, and then we're starting to get into the runs of the Tier 2 boys. Single track, Red Car Rambo Fanning are really close in proceedings. I think I might have just jinxed it. Ryan of Red Car has gone round at turns 11 and 12, I see. Disaster. Boothie squirming around trying to get traction on the exit final corner. Now Ty Cleo is all over him. Can he get the run into turn 1? He's got the slipstream, but no DRS coming until the end of this lap. Not anything going on just yet. Let's just check on the front. Toby leading from the front. Let's just get the gaps up between the cars. So he's got a second already to Palang in P2. Very healthy.
That's crucial, I think. And I would say to the boys behind, don't be afraid to use your ERS if you've got to keep up with him, because if he gets away, you just see that gap creep up. You know what he can do now without the help of ERS. And just keep going.
Palang has used half his ERS already, as has Rob Smith, and so has Ghost Rider. Those 4 at the front have got a big gap to Boothie in P5, who now is joined by Stringy B, his teammates in P6, who's got past Ty Clear.
Shout out to Stringy B, by the way. Sorry.
I was going to say, there's another car. Konnichiwa's gone wide at turn 10 again. Sorry.
Yeah, just want to mention Stringy. He's gone up from 14th place up into 6th, our biggest position gain of the lot so far, up 8 places from the start.
What a move. Great start. And Palang, P5 in the grid to P2. It's not as many positions gained, of course, but you know what? That's a huge move from 5th place from the grid to 2nd. That's a great proceeding up the field. Speaking of another man who's made a few places, Bit is all over the back of Gibbon in the Red Bull, looking for 15th place. Just behind him is Mark the Hodge, and then he's already back in contention. Connor, despite being the wrong way round at turn 2 on lap 1, he's already with Hodgie. Is he going to make a move here? Connor's got the run down the straight on Hodge.
It's just too easy, isn't it? Yeah. Move one side, doesn't even need the help of the DRS there.
No.
That quite cleanly into turn 1.
And then just behind them now, despite his calamities last lap, Ryan of Red Car right behind the Hodge as well. DRS will now come into play. Here comes Ryan. He's got a great run out of turn 3. Hodgie needs to really have a think about his strategy today, because he's not got the straight line speed. So if he's going to be ahead of people, he's going to get done on the straights. He's going to have to be very tactical with the DRS. Oh, Geke Matthews has gone round at turn 2 and 3. Easy done. But back to the front. Toby's got 1.3 now to Palang in P2.
Yeah, he's looking fairly comfortable, isn't he?
He is the Mercedes duo ever close to the back of the beautiful Williams.
We've got quite a good situation. We've got quite a good situation here between the with the Hasses. You've got that big gap between 4th and 5th, and Boothie obviously the highest rider on the hards. Stringy B behind him on the mediums. I wonder if these boys can just sort of do a bit of teamwork and start swapping places and giving each other the piggyback of the DRS down the main straights. If you can alternate it, that's the only way that you're ever going to make up that gap to the lads in front.
Oh, Boothie's on the hard tyre. the team game here would be not to fight this move. Stringy B's going for a DRS pass on his teammate.
Yep.
And as you say there, if they work together, Stringy will have the better pace, can drag Boothie along. Use him as a rear gunner. It's all tight clear, has a look up inside of turn 1, doesn't quite get it done this time. Yeah, if you use each other as a buffer, you could prevent the teammate from dropping back too far, use them as a buffer for yourself, and drag them into the race. That said, Stringy seems to be pulling away. Boothie's too busy fighting with Ty Clear at the moment, and look at the train behind him. He's got this little overhead shot now. We've got Boothie followed by Ty Clear, Kazusoze, Single Track, and Kanichwa all on each other's rear wings. Just behind them, Night Shadow and B17 are not far behind either.
It's a track as well where you can lose quite a lot of time fighting in the corners. You go for one move and you got to go 2 by 2, you get off the racing line, and suddenly that car in front, they're out of that all crucial DRS range. So you got to time your move and make sure that it's not going to cost you too much time on track, because otherwise it's not worth it. You're in front, but you're just going to be swallowed up on the next straight.
Indeed, we've just seen Boothie go very wise coming through turn 12, and Ty Clear having a huge moment there on the exit as well. Ty Clear very much out of ERS. Boothie's got plenty. As we look behind, Kazusoze's having a little thought about a move there on the Alpha Tauri. Has Ty Clear dropped out with DRS? Not quite, but he's dropped way back from where he would have wanted to be. Boothie does not have DRS suddenly, by the way. Ooh, we're seeing moves ahead. Palang, Rob Smith and Ghost Rider all getting a bit dicey. Toby watching his mirrors, sure thinking very happily that he's got a little buffer to these boys.
Yeah, the real battle, I think, Toby's up the road now, isn't it? It's the fight for the podium places between Palang, Rob Smith and Ghost Rider. We've got some of the biggest battles on track, and then of course we've got the big train behind Boothie, or maybe Ty Clear now, as Ty Clear is just falling out of DRS range all the way down to about 11th position. We've got 5 people all battling and just trying to keep it clean at the same time.
Indeed, you can see here Boothie has got DRS on Stringy B. Be interesting to see whether, Ty Clear has also just got it as well. That's crucial here. So right now, as we predicted, the Haas team are dragging each other along. That 3.5 second gap to the guys ahead is not a bad gap if you're Boothie. If you're Stringy, you need to eat into that whilst the guys ahead are dicing with each other, costing each other lap time. So, the other crucial factor here, Melvin reminded me this on Monday, you've got a few teammate battles here where you've got the 2 Mercs, the 2 Haas very close together on track, the 2 Ferraris as well, 10th and 12th. These guys, if they need to hit, whether it be a safety car or just the optimal strategy, they don't quite have that flexibility. Whilst that's good right now in terms of playing a team game, if you're on the same tyre, that's one thing to watch out for. The 2 Ferraris are on the same tyre, as are the Mercedes, but the Haas are on opposite strategies.
Yes, and I don't know about you and your teammate, but very rarely I find that one of you is assigned like a number 1 driver, unless they're clearly fighting for the championship, in which case it's just a bit of luck, isn't it, who darts into the pits first. There's no... So, yeah, really...
We don't do number 1 drivers at Williams. We're a family team. We're a family team.
All equal.
We actually, no, jokes aside, we have a rule, and I'm sure this should be the rule really, which is, unless there's a race win, a podium, or a championship at stake, I think, or if you're both equally in the same contention for any of those 3 things, whoever's on the best strategy at that moment in the race, you let them go and you defend to help them.
Yeah.
That's, in my opinion, what you should always do. So, if my teammate's ever ahead of me, I will defend for them, and if they're behind me, then I hope they'll defend for me. Which, to be fair, my teammate does. I'll give him that.
Your teammate's Bergen, isn't it?
Yes,
is that right?
He is fantastic as a teammate.
He was my stand-in teammate on Monday, and he was very good, and I honourably got out of his way because he's a darn sight quicker than I am, and he was on the hards and I was on the mediums. I was like, you get up the road, lad, you try and get some more points for us.
We did notice this on the stream. Me and Melvin clocked onto this, and to tell you what, you always know Bergen's watching the stream, partially because he is MRC blood. Oh wow, Palang's lost position to Rob Smith, a bit aggressive. Anyway, I was just saying Bergen's always watching the stream, as we know a lot of our drivers are, because they live and bleed MRC. But also, he's just popped up in the comments with his famous purple heart. That's his sign of appreciation right there. The Bergen stamp of approval. Anywho, so Palang in the Williams has lost position to Rob Smith in the Mercedes. Looks to me like Rob Smith, Palang and Ghost Rider have all obliterated their ERS. We just jump ahead to Toby. He's still got most of his, well I say most of it's nearly half of his. So he's not obliterating all of it just yet, he's just managing his pace. He's pushing the gap when he needs to, because of course these guys are pushing themselves. But he's not exceeding what his car needs to just yet. So, interesting lines. Palang takes a wide line the exit of turn 11, and Rob Smith takes a very tight line. Very interesting to see the difference.
Yeah, I think it's worth sticking with this one up front, isn't it? There was a bit of... Obviously, Rob Smith was able to get ahead in the last lap, and there's always a little bit of that want, isn't it? You want that place back straight away, but as you've noticed, as we've seen a lot, unfortunately, through the week, the action does tend to happen to turn 1 and carry on through turn 2. You got to do it clean, because I think if you go in side by side into turn 1, heartache awaits. Let's see. I think he's going to go for it. Is he not? No. He had a good old think about that and said, no, thank you. I might take, this is a good opportunity. He's got a really good run on Rob Smith, and he's going to get the DRS. Got to leave the space on the outside. This is where Alonso said you always must have to leave the space, and he does. Can he get it round the outside? Because it's so easy to stick a bit too bit of wheel bang in.
And that's a Mercedes in the wall. Rob Smith is in the wall. It doesn't look like he's got too much damage, if any. That was a big one.
That was a big one. I'm really glad that he's carried on, though. It is so hard to you can just spear off into a wall and lose a front wheel. So at least he's going. Let's have a quick look at his car. I can't see any obvious wing damage, so I think it's just his pride that's been hurt there. But yeah, he'll want to...
Palang's gone round! He's lost it at turn 10 all by himself.
Oh, and Stree's done it in sympathy as well. He's off the track as well behind him. Nobody wants to get in the podium here.
It's difficult. We were saying this in qualifying. Sometimes being sat behind another car can help. Sometimes use them as a brake reference. And sometimes it just... If they make a mistake, it puts you off. But speaking of mistakes, Connor, he's had another moment at turn 2. He's lost his wing this time. Oh, Connor. He's dropped down to P19. He's got no wing, and he and his teammates from 2 seasons ago are 19th and 20th. That's Geke just behind him. Toby's coming up to lap Geke at the moment. So, lap 9 of 29. And we approach, we're about third way into this race now. Toby has got a 3.2 second lead. And we see Palang in P3 under huge attack from behind. The Haas of Stringy B wanting to make moves. Boothie has dropped off here from his teammate slightly. Behind him we've got Kaiser Soze battling hard with Rob Smith. Rob Smith having had that moment last lap, clearly keen to make positions back. He goes up the inside of turn 4. And we're just seeing a double move at once on the screen there. Oh, so Rob Smith getting the move done. But then lose it on the exit. We see Konnichiwa Beechams on Night Shadow. And now Rob Smith has a moment through 5, 6 and 7. Is he vulnerable from the Ferrari behind him? Takes a very wide line into 8, the hairpin. He's got the inside for 9. That's where you want to be. You want to be on the inside. And Konnichiwa rightfully knows live and fight for another day. Back out of that one. Sensible driving from Konnichiwa Beach.
It's very tough to get a move done round there, but somehow BDR Calvin managed it on me on Monday night, and it's one of the best moves I've ever seen. You ever been overtaken by somebody and you just want to applaud them as they go past? That was what I experienced on Monday night. So, yeah, you've got to be very brave, and yeah, maybe hope it's the last lap as well, because, boy, everybody needs to be playing very fair to get through too wide through that corner.
You're quite a amicable defender, mate, yourself. Oh, you see Neil's gone round now. Oh, shame. Yeah, you're quite a strong defender yourself, so for Calvin to have made the move on you shows just how good Calvin can be. I mean, we know this anyway. Everyone in MRC knows how good Calvin can be on his day. But of course, you're a fantastically difficult person to fight with or without the lag. Now there's no excuse for the lag.
No, there's no excuse, yeah.
We can see if you shift yourself across the track in a wizardry fashion. By the way, Toby's lost about 6 or 7 tenths over the last 2 laps to Ghost Rider. Just noticed.
Yeah, I don't know if he's just conserving his ERS or something, or maybe it's just those tyres that are slightly higher pressure and he's starting to feel the wear a little bit more. But yeah, that gap is coming down. It might just be that Ghost Rider doesn't have those cars scrapping around him, so he can just focus on the pace, get his head down, and that's helping him to reel Toby in at the top. Because yeah,
he's gaining more time there. Actually, he's just getting another few tenths in that middle sector so far. So interesting to see. Of course, this battle is not over. Toby's having had it his own way so far in this race, but as you mentioned there with the tyres, this is the point in the race where, frankly, the tyres will slowly, if you're on the medium, slowly start to go off. The hard starts coming to their own now. Everyone in the top 4 is on the medium tyres. In fact, everyone in the top 10, apart from Simitrack, Night Shadow and Boothie, are on the mediums.
It might be worth just keeping an eye on Boothie. Does that gap to Stringy B, does it get bigger or does it get smaller? That's usually the sign that you want to get off those mediums as soon as Boothie starts to catch you when he's in clear.
Indeed, I mean, Boothie right now chasing those teammates 3.8 behind. Stringy B, meanwhile, is in Palang slipping DRS. So he's got a huge advantage on the straights right now, which could negate the tyre loss. Is he going to get close into turn 4? I find the DRS zone for turn 4 only really works if you get the switchback out of turn 1. So if you don't commit for a move to turn 1, the guy ahead of you can be clever and defend from you. If they do that, they just need to pick their exit and use all their ERS out of turn 3. And they can defend there quite well as well. This overhead camera shot, we're just watching Stringy, is fantastic. Getting a fantastic view of the middle sector and the back of the pit straights as well. Oh, now it's gone. Damn it. I was enjoying that. Why did the game have to ruin this for me? I'm trying to find it again, but there we go. I've got it on board with tie clear. Well, let's have a look. Red Car Rambo's on the back a bit. So we've got a tier 2 fight going on here. So the Alpine of Red Car versus the McLaren of Bit. Coming on the run out of turn 9, heading towards turn 10. Bit has got some ERS. Ryan does not, but Ryan has the DRS. He's getting his flap open.
He loves a bit of flap action, doesn't he, Ryan? But no, it's nice to see these two drivers. They're not racing in their tier tonight. You know, you are trying to race for the team. You want to make sure that you get those points, but it's a bit for pride. But yeah, they're still going at it, aren't they? They still really want to make sure. It's a fight between 13th and 14th, but we're still seeing real commitment there. And, it'll be interesting to see. I think Bit doesn't have ERS down here. Ryan doesn't have the DRS, sorry. Ryan will. Can he make up any ground? Boy, that's a very skinny McLaren.
This is roaring away on that straight, and no Ryan's got no ERS, but still, that's significant. Just behind them, B17, the Ferrari wants to come and play it as well. We've got a car round. Stringy B! Stringy B's lost it. So he's only, luckily for him, lost 1 position to his teammate. Of course, he was in that fight with Palang for P3, which is extremely unfortunate for him. But he is now in the fight with the other, well, I say the other, it's a different blue car, it's not the other blue car. It's a completely different one, in fact. It's the Alpine of Kaiser Soze. So, Sean board with Soze.
He was just on the hunt there, wasn't it? Not an overtaking area, but he knows his tyres, they're not as warm, they haven't overheated like Stringy has. He's trying to recover, his head's a bit scrambled. That's the time you want to try and pounce. By now, Stringy will just recovered a little bit, and he'll hope that he'll be able to keep this position as we get into those 2 DRS zones. Kaiser just has to keep intact here. I think he's got... Yeah, looking at the ERS. Oh no, Stringy does have... He's been quite conservative with that ERS. Not a bad ploy around here. You always want to have a little extra in your pocket, just in case. Yes,
I did some testing on Thursday last week and found that you lose by running in medium by running in no ERS compared to medium, as we see Kaiser Soze and Kanucha are both in the pits, as is Palang. By running no ERS rather than medium, so if you run out, you lose around a second a lap. Just in that electric energy, you lose about a second a lap. It's absolutely insane. So, and of course, if you use the overtake button, you will deplete that battery. It does not recharge particularly quickly. But if you have it available, as you say there about that spare energy, if you have a little bit there, that's a good 100 horsepower or so extra of energy and speed that you can deploy. And of course, these long straights here, that could be all you need to either hold or even take position.
We're starting to see the first of the medium runners pit now, aren't we? We've seen Palang pit, as well as Kenichiwa Beach Kaiser Soze on a little scrap back there. Kaiser Soze's just got past.
Just looking back in front, Toby's stabilised the gap to Ghost Rider, by the way. Although Toby's ran out of his ERS, Ghost Rider's nearly run out of his, so this fight isn't over just yet.
No, and it's what does Ghost Rider do if Toby pits now? Does he go an extra lap? Does he
Toby's pitting. Yeah, they're both pitting. They're matching each other. Lap 13 is the optimum time for the medium tire to come off. The optimum time. So, of course, both these guys are going to go for the hards. Boothie will take the race lead. He's currently on the hard tyre. Now, what he needs right now, above all else, a VSC or a full safety car right now for him would be a dream, because with a safety car at this point, you could take the medium tyres to the end of the race. The soft tyres, not worth thinking about at this stage, of course. Yeah. Then you're going to do about 7 or 8 laps, realistically. So, notable, Night Shadow's having a little tussle with Single Track, although Gav, just as we come on board with him, goes very wide at turn 4. They're side by side coming into the chicane. Single Track on the inside. He's just got a move done. Oh, chops across the wing of Night Shadow. These two are firm friends, of course, but that was very aggressive for Martin. But he gets the job done. Martin with a little drift. He knows we're watching him. Gav gives us a little drift on the exit of turn 8. Heading into the out of the hairpin into the double left-hander. Let's have a look. We've got Fannings behind, fighting with Bits and with Ryan. So again, 3 firm friends, all tier 2 drivers having a little play together.
Yeah, this is where the hard runners are in their own. They're up at the front, like you say. They'll be desperate for a safety car or a BSC or something to help bring the pack together. Personally, I think it's a little bit early. You want it a couple of laps later, because taking mediums 15 laps on here, they're going to be absolutely vile at the end. You can make it work, but yeah, not the optimum strategy around here.
No. Then again, a couple of laps behind the safety car does extend that tyre life by a tiny bit. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see when the hard tyres do pit. Bit's got a cracking run in the final corner. Fanning dives into the pits and takes a 5-second speed penalty for overstepping the mark on the speeding. Oh dear. Nearly as awful as how I just said that. We move on. Toby now, P6, having made that pit stop. Of course, a couple of people around him have pitted too. He is the next lead car. He is currently... He's got a similar gap to Ghost Rider that he had before, just about 2.5 seconds. He's closing up on Red Car Rambo and on Bit as well. He has got Neil just behind him. Neil does also still need to pit. But right now, Toby does not need to get into a fight with these drivers. Does not need to waste time battling with people who are not quite in the same part of the race as he is. That said, Neil's looking rather quick right now, closing up to the back of Toby.
Yeah, I think he's got a fair bit of ERS left, and Neil's very, very quick. I think he just had a bit of maybe qualified a bit further down than he'd like, but yeah, give him a chance, and he won't turn it down. There's a yellow sector on 2 at the fine. Yeah, the one thing Toby doesn't want to do now, you've said he doesn't want to make those big moves, he also doesn't want to get stuck in traffic. If he gets stuck in traffic and he gives Ghost Rider a chance to break up some of that gap, then he could be in for a scrap that he thought he was well out of, because he was well out of everybody's DRS range for that whole first half of the race. He doesn't want to invite anybody else back into it.
Yes, indeed. Of course, Night Shadow, currently P3, he loves to go long on these tyres. Boofy's doing the exact same thing, loves to go long. So we're seeing the hard tyre currently still lasting, still going long. The hards on Monday I saw in both tiers 1 and 2, people taking 20 to even 24 laps on this tyre. I believe that kids... Oh, Neil's with a moment turn 2! Oh, that's lost him position to Ghost Rider, who's freed up. Yeah, the hard tyre on Monday, we saw Kid Dynamite, I believe, did 24, was it even 25 laps on the tyre? I think he pitted either lap 3 or lap 4, and then went to the end. Yeah, and he got P3 from, at one point, he crashed at the start of the race before even reaching turn 1, ended up taking the podium because of playing a blinder and strategy, and the safety car suited him.
Without the DRS, it's tougher to overtake than you'd think around here, particularly when the pack is very squished together. Late safety cars, it's not always the best option to go on the softs. I know that Ryan on Monday did an excellent job on a pair of old mediums where everybody else around him was going on softs. He said, no, stick to my mediums, and yeah, it was no problem. We've got a Haas. Is that Boothie having a moment up top there? It was
Boothie. Boothie's dropped it, which means Single Track and Night Shadow have both got past him. We're seeing Konnichiwa on Stringy B into turn 10. Was that turn 11? Sorry, into turn 11, apologies. Konnichiwa Beach with a move into turn 11. What a fantastic move that was. And look how tight they are coming through 12 and 13 into 14.
Yeah, it's almost like Stringy B didn't expect that, doesn't he? He wants his own back straight away. Is he going to go for the overtake here? Is he going to wait for the ERS? Yeah, he says, go on, you take that corner. I'll have the DRS at the next straight, and I'll get it done there, son, because yeah, he's aiming up for a move. Going to be all
Here
too easy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Konnichiwa, I don't think there's much he can do about that. Lack of ERS and being subject to the DRS of the car behind. He's now got Kaiser Soze there too. Will they get Stringy B back on the next straight though?
He's had a great run out of there, Konnichiwa, and he will have all the power again. I just don't think he's got enough. No, it's not long enough.
Yeah, that's the thing. This straight here is a great straight for an overtake, but you've got to have the perfect run out of turn 1, 2 and 3. It's got to be perfect. If it's not perfect, you're not getting the move, even with DRS. If you see the lapped Alfa Romeo, I believe that's Connor, has just had a moment. Oh, he's really not having his best days, Connor. He's just not quite working for him. We all have these days, Connor. Don't give up. Keep yourself going. And do yourself proud, my friend. So, Stringy again. Is he going to get done by Konnichiwa here? This is where Konnichiwa passed him last time. He doesn't go for it this time. He just hangs back.
I think he's learnt his lesson, hasn't he? He said, oh, I made a very risky move into there, and for what reward? I got past just on the main straight like everybody does, so maybe if I bide my time. Stringy's what? Yeah, he's well out of the DRS zone of the car in front. If Konnichiwa can just keep it together, keep it clean, and get a good exit out this last corner, then he should be able to get the move done before turn 1.
Indeed, we're seeing pitters on the hard tyres. So we've got Bit and Boothie both pitting. And now we're going to see Konnichiwa attempt a move on Boothie into someone. The shot from Paul with the Ferrari. Which way would it go? He takes the racing line. So is he going to go deep or attempt a switchback? I think it's go for the switchback. Not quite neat enough that for me, Konnichiwa. And that's allowed Boothie to just get enough of an exit as he roars away in the Haas. You need to keep it really tight to the apex and hope that the other driver goes nice and deep, allowing you every opportunity to get underneath them for the exit of turn 2.
I don't know if that was intentional from Stringy, but Konnichiwa didn't use his DRS on that second DRS straight. I don't know if he did a bit of a Leclerc Max Verstappen where he says, I will have the DRS in this stage and you can have it in the next one, but yeah, he just was absolutely nowhere on that second DRS straight. Konnichiwa, he'll be a little frustrated because, of course, Stringy now on those hards, he's catching Gibbon up in front of him. He's on 17 lap old hards. If he gets into the DRS range of that car ahead, then yeah, that's an overtaking opportunity gone.
Indeed, we've got a yellow flag turn 1, sorry, turn 3 even. I believe that's Geke again. Anyway, back to this fight, as you mentioned there. Konnichiwa needs to get this move done on Stringy. Stringy is closing up to the Red Bull of Gibbon. We know the hard tyres can go another 5, maybe even 6, maybe even 7 laps, as Redcar Rambo has decided he's had enough of the hard tyres. And Stringy and Gibbon, oh no, Gibbon's still pitting, Stringy stays out. So Redcar Rambo and Gibbon have both had enough of the hard tyre, and now they're going to go for the mediums, for sure. So Stringy's vulnerable again. Konnichiwa needs to keep it nice and tight. Just doesn't quite get the hook up onto the apex of turn 1. Maybe he's going a little bit too soft in suspension. Here he goes, though. He's got better exit this time. Takes the inside to turn 4. Nicely done. Stringy tries to do a Lewis Hamilton Rosberg and come back round the outside. Got great drive. But Konnichiwa on the inside. I feel Stringy needs to commit and back out of that, and he does. Konnichiwa committed to the corner.
That was excellent driving from both both there. They were always given the space to fight. Konichiwa was always just ahead going into that corner, and it's one of those where you try and stay alongside, but as soon as you're going into 5, 6 and 7, you know the game's up. You know you don't want to risk 2 cars through that right, left, right. So, yeah, Stringer did the right thing as well, just to give that position up. Doesn't want to give a position up to Kaiser Soze, who will have seen that battle up ahead and go, yep, I'll have a piece of that. It only takes one of those to make a mistake, so he'll pounce.
Don't forget Rob Smith is also there ready to have a little lurk too, but Kaiser Soze on the gearbox now of Stringy B. This is what Konichiwa wants to see. A single track brings his Williams into the pits, and surprise, surprise, Gav goes for another lap. Gav will always go as long as it's physically possible. He always loves to wait for a safety car.
He does. We all know that Gav likes to go long, you know, on those hards. Long and hard, that's Gav.
Yes. So, Konichiwa Beach taking the defensive line. I don't think he needed to there. And out the pits comes Single Track, who's going to join this battle. Ooh, lots of cars in one place at one time there. Single Track having to go defensive against Rob Smith and Kaiser Soze. Immediately, his tyres are not up to temperature yet. And you see the guys ahead having a huge tussle. String B doesn't get the move done. Konichiwa's had a moment in turn 4, mid-corner. He loses grip. It's an off-camber, low traction corner, and it's really easy to lose the rear and the front end at the same time there. Crucial for Single Track. He is ahead of Rob Smith and Kaiser Soze. Rob Smith is ahead of Kaiser Soze at the moment as well. Single Track will now hope on those newer medium tyres to close up to the pack ahead and get involved in what was a very dicey battle.
Yeah, I feel like Martin's in that tricky stage now where you're out on the fresh mediums, you feel like you should be faster, but those tyres are ice cold, and he just had those 2 hard runners with them nicely warmed up there, you know, getting into the operating temperature. They were all over the back of him. I think he's been able to eke out a gap enough now that he'll be safe going to the next section, but he's got, I think, 1 DRS straight to contend with. If he can't quite eke out that gap, then I think Rob Smith and Kaiser Soze will still fancy their chances, because they've been quick all this race.
Indeed. Shema to Penzizo and Hugo Braun, who are cheering on their friend Giban. They called me Szczesny last time because I said 3 Polish words which I knew, one of which was Shema, which is hello, and
Dzień dobry. I know that one.
I know dziękuję is thank you.
Yeah.
You know, Kohamche and Shema, and I know a few naughty words which I'm not going to say because for obvious reasons. But yes, I like that MRC is very much a multilingual, multi-background and spreading its wings. It's lovely to see the variety of backgrounds, people and life in our lovely league. As we have the helicopter shot again, hurrah, on board Rob Smith from above. We get to see this part of the middle, well, end of the first sector, start of the middle sector. We have got, of course, Konichiwa, Stringy, Single Track, Rob Smith and Kaiser Soze all in a close fight together here. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, I think Martin's the one to watch, isn't he? He's pulled out that gap from Rob Smith behind Roz in DRS.
You just had to say Rob Smith's name, didn't you?
Oh
no!
Oh, he's just got round, hasn't he? Oh, gosh.
Oh, dear. Indeed. So, just behind them, we've got Red Car and B17. Since their pit stops dropped down the order slightly, are chasing back up to the pack. Ryan has just at the fast lap of the race. Neil, after having a little bit of a tussle behind Banderstorp, now on the mediums. Can he rescue a point from this race? Currently 10th place is Bit, and then we've got Booties behind him, so they'll be hoping to fight for more. As we got Neil's gone round again, unfortunately. He's just dropped behind his teammate Giban. So your Giban fan club, there you go. There is your man, Giban. You're very happy to see him, of course. There you are. Right, Mark Hodgson's had a very quiet race. I've got a feeling Mark's using this as a session just to try out either a new setup or maybe some new settings. In which case, perfect place to do it. Nice and friendly atmosphere if you have a play. Connor's back in the pits, and then Geke on the way down to turn 4, a couple of laps down. Right, back to the lead. This Night Shallow lad still leading the way. Is he still up there on 21 lap old hard tyres without any ERS or DRS? He is, isn't he?
Yep. he will do it, and I'm trying to work out if a safety car will actually help or hinder him now. I'm trying to think how many places he'll drop. He might get out in front of Konnichiwa if a safety car were to happen now, so it's not a bad strategy, but he's certainly not going to take the lead. Remember, you do have to pit, Gav, at some point.
Indeed, I mean, he could go onto the soft tyres from here. Mr. Dennison, aka Simba, has confirmed that Hodgie is attempting a no traction control run for this race, as Gav's just put in his personal best lap without any ERS and very dead tyres. So he's managing.
Did he just say, Bono, my tyres are gone, over the radio? Was that it?
Okay, Lewis, how's your tyres? They're dead, Bono! My tyres are gone, man! Okay, copy. Fastest lap incoming.
Yeah, tell you whose tyres are not dead. Martin, he's just going to lovely move on Konnichiwa into turn 1. Got it done very early.
Indeed. You can see Konnichiwa, of course, on the 10-lap-old hard tyres even. Next up for Martin, who's on 3-lap-old mediums, is his teammate for the day in the other Williams, Palang, who is on 10-lap-old hards as well. So if he managed to get past Konnichiwa fairly well, he's got 4.2 seconds to get Palang as well. I'm sure with the remaining 6-7 laps that could be done. We've got a spinning Aston Martin at turn 4. I believe that's Hodgie. He's just probably on a set of softs and maybe he's just not quite got them warmed up and lit them up slightly. But who else is lighting it up right now? Toby, the IKEA meatball. He's lighting up P2. He's all over the back of the Alfa Romeo of Gav, the Night Shadow Banshee. Now, Gav, is this the lap you're going to pit, or are you going to keep going? There's a yellow flag. Red Bull at turn 8 has lost it. They've recovered now. Gav does pit. A very late decision, but he's got into the pits. Ghost Rider resumes P2. Now, the gap between these two, they're on the same tyre, same life of tyre. They are less than 2 seconds. It's now just 2.03 seconds. These two are closer than they've been at any point in this race since the end of the first lap. And we've got 6 laps of racing. I don't think this is over.
No. I'm hoping to see another duel in the desert.
Yes, the Hamilton-Rosberg fight, but this time in a Williams, and an Aston Martin even, and a Mercedes. Yeah. I was getting wishful of my Williams being involved. But yes, of course, Night Shadow now has pitted, as we just mentioned. He's come out in P11, he's less than 2 seconds from Boothie, and he's on a very, very fast set of soft tyres. Gav could realistically look at maybe P7, P8, maybe, see how the pace goes. But most importantly, right now, Ghost Rider's got the gap down to 1.7 seconds to Banstorp. That gap is coming down. Both of them are very much on the low end of the ERS scale too, so it's not like there's any tactical games that either could play here.
It's all about concentration now, and it's all about who is somebody going to make a mistake, or are they not going to make a mistake? I was going to make a comment earlier about if you spin around here, you get frustrated and you want to go even faster, so you press the accelerator pedal a bit more and you lose the back end more often. It is a track that just will keep punishing you. The aim is to try and keep calm, make sure that you've always got that acceleration under control, because otherwise you're going to end up ruining your own race. And with 5 laps to go now's not the time to suddenly put it in a wall.
Indeed. Well, I heard a well-known equation, which I've not just made up at all, which is a high abrasive surface plus a rear-limited point-and-squirt track equals bad rear tyre wear. Add in a spice of desert heat and a little sprinkling of pressure and competition, and what you have there is a lot of lively rear-end action, just like you get in your local curry house on a Friday night, when the main chef is not in for the day and the new one comes in to try something funky. Anyway, there's enough Bailey analogies. No one needs to hear more of me and my rubbish. So, Palang's in P3. We mentioned that Night Shadow... Sorry, apologies. We mentioned that Single Track was likely to close in on him on a much newer set of tyres and a much faster compound. That gap has dropped down to 2.8 seconds between the Willy boys. I don't often get to say those words. I get to call Martin a Willy. I'm going to enjoy that lots in a mature and moronic fashion. Anyway, Martin now 2.7 behind his teammate today. Kenichi Beach not quite keeping with Martin, but he's also not completely losing touch in P5. Stringy also not far behind. So Stringy has got a penalty. Just a quick reminder, penalties on the board. Geke, he's got a few, we'll leave that there. Connor's got a 3-second penalty. Fanning has a 5-second penalty, which was for speeding in the pit lane. And as we just mentioned, Stringy has a 3-second for track limits. So of course these will all affect the end of the race. Speaking of the end of the race, start of the race to present, bit of change and fluctuation on the timing screen. Toby started on pole and has remained in first place. Kai Soze did the same with 7th place. Big movers today though are Bit in P10, 9 places up, Fanning 7 places up in P11, Stringy B 8 places up in P6, and Single Track 9 places up in P4.
It's been a really smart race from Martin. I'm just comparing his and Gav's because they were right next to each other. They were both running the hards. I believe Gav was in first and Martin was in second. Martin decided to pit earlier and put on the mediums, and that does seem to have benefited him a little bit more. Even though Gav's having this really exciting charge lately up the field, Martin could be on for a podium if those mediums can stick around a little bit longer. Whereas Gav, best he can probably hope for now is P8, maybe P7. So yeah, change in strategy. I know Gav was staying out hoping for that late safety car, but yeah, sometimes it does pay just to go for the optimum strategy. You're going to end up quite a few seconds along the road, because I think these boys have got pretty similar pace.
Indeed, we can see Geke Matthews has had a moment at turn 12 and 13, but now we are at the point in the race where there will be no safety car from here on in. So we've managed to get a whole race without a safety car.
That is impressive. I can't do my... Can I drop in my safety car facts now for the YouTube
Yes,
chat?
I was going to say, I've got plenty of things to talk about. Let's discuss them quickly. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, my one question for the YouTube chat was, who holds the current lap record around Bahrain? It's not qualifying lap, it's a in-race lap, because I think it's always a bit of an oddity. I always see it and go, oh yeah, he was a racing car driver. I just want to see if we've got any knowledgeable people.
Does this include the outer ring or the normal track?
It does not include the outer ring, the normal track.
Ooh, okay. I mean, your comments of, oh yeah, they were a racing driver. Does that make you think it was someone like Pastor Maldonado or Kamui Kobayashi?
Oh, okay. Well, no, none of them. 2005 in the old V10s in a McLaren.
Pedro de la Rosa.
Pedro de la Rosa is absolutely correct. Yeah.
Whoa. Wow. What a blast from the past.
And it still stands today. That's the point. Still, probably those very speedy V10 engines helping him with that fact. But yeah, record
1,000
stands
horsepower, V10, 3 litre, and a very light, very nimble, very agile car. It makes sense. Okay, quick question for you then, Mr. Genie. Favourite memories, you allow plural, of the Bahrain International Circuit in Sakhir?
Okay, I'll do a nice one and I'll be naughty, because it is Christmas after all.
Of course.
Nice one. I think I really enjoyed that duel in the desert. Like I said, that was a really good scrap, as well as the one in 2011. Actually, that amazing fight between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. We thought it was a one-off. We thought maybe the Red Bulls had a little bit more of the pace, but Hamilton was able to pull through at the start of the season. Little did we know that was going to set the tone for the entirety of the 2021 season. My naughty one is going to be 2022, when suddenly both Red Bulls decided that they were going to pack it in about 2 laps from the end, and they went from hero to zero. That was it was certainly a moment, but if anybody had the last laugh, it was certainly them by the end of the season, wasn't it? Absolutely dominant season from the 2022 Red Bull, and hats off to them.
I thought you were going to mention Hamilton going into the back of Alonso and subsequently taking off Alonso's rear wing and retiring both cars in the process.
Gosh, you know what we've missed while we were doing our trivia? Is it single track, or is he... I think him and Konichiwa have got in a real scrap. I don't know if Martin's had a moment. He's really fallen off the back of Konichiwa there, but this could be a last lap scrap.
Indeed, and we have got Night Shadow now on the back of Kaiser Soze for P7, so I called that P7, P8 was doable, and now then, Night Shadow might make that possible, but as you mentioned, We are about to start the final lap of the race, so we'll come back to Bandstorp, but single track is under huge pressure, as you see from Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa's gone very deep into the final corner, had a big moment there. So it looks to be the top three are pretty much set in stone. As you mentioned there, it's not quite worked for single track. Let's drop back to Kaiser Soze and Night Shadow. Can the Banshee make a move into turn 1, or will he wait for turn 4? He's going to wait for turn 4.
Oh.
He does have a look though, he's gone very deep. Wow.
Yeah.
I'd have broke a bit early there myself, Gav, but he is right on the back of Soze. Soze 16 lap old hards, Gav on 5 lap old soft tyres. In turn 4, surely this is a foregone conclusion on the much nicer tyre. Is Gav going to get the drive? He doesn't. Oh, there's a bit of a barge on the way through from Soze, but Gav on this occasion has to settle for P8. But can he get him into the hairpin? Oh my word! I don't remember seeing many moves in normal racing situations into the hairpin, but Gav's got it done. Soze's not had enough of it though. Is he going to get him back through 8 and 9 into 10? No, Gav holds on, but the Doctor's flap, the DRS, is now going to come open on the Alpine. We look back from Night Shadow's Alfa Romeo. He's going to have to defend. Soze just has to think again as Gav positions his car on the entrance for 11. We're going to have to avoid this fight for now because I missed this on Monday. I messed up here. But Toby Bandstorp is your race winner today in Tier 3. Congratulations to him. P2 is going to be taken by Ghost Rider. Palang takes Tier P3. Single Track will take P4. Konnichiwa P5. Stringy P6. Night Shadow has held on to P7. Chased down in P8 by Kaiser Soze in the Alpine. Boothie takes P9, and the final point for the day taken by Carl McBitty Evans. What could have been for Rob Smith, who takes 11th. Ty Clear is in 12th. He had some quite good fights throughout the day. He comes around the final corner and heads towards the line. Very up and down day for him as well. Him and Rob Smith both might feel, having been in the top 6 early on, that a podium for each of them was on the cards. B17, P13. Again, a long stint on the hards, just didn't quite work for him today. Red Car Rambo, P14, and the fastest lap with 131.5. Stolen by Fanning immediately. 31.3 as he takes P15.
They'll have words, won't they?
They'll be having a very strong words, of course. I'm not going to name names, but there's been a certain driver who is in this race who has made a call out in general chat, and of course that is subject to a disqualification. So that driver, don't be surprised to see them removed from the standings. Giban Fan Club will be happy to see the final car that we sit on board with in P16 is the Polish Prince, Giban. Drive the day, the game gives it to single track. I'm reluctant to give it to one of the reserve drivers from a higher tier, but that was a fantastic drive from the single track, of course. Jeannie, who do you fancy giving your drive of the day vote to?
It's tough. Like you say, I think Martin drove a flawless race. That's what was enabled him to get so far up the top. But that man on the top step, Toby, that was a flawless race too, wasn't it? Always under pressure from cars behind, always worried that he might get somebody in his DRS zone, and he just kept it cool. It was flawless. So, yeah, pole position, race win. Why not give him driver of the day too, eh?
I concur, good sir. So, your pole sitter, your race winner, and your driver of the day is Tobias Bandstorp. Congratulations to Toby, and congratulations to all of our fantastic drivers. No DNFs, no safety cars, no significantly silly drama, and some fantastic overtaking. So, as we mentioned, Toby wins in P1 for Aston Martin, 2nd Ghost Rider, 3rd Palang, 4th Single Track, Konnichiwa Beach, 5th, 6th Stringy B, 7th Night Shadow, 8th Kaiser Soze, 9th Boothie, and 10th Bit. So, and then we've got the rest of our drivers here as mentioned. So 11th Rob Smith, 12th Ty Clear, 13th P17, 14th Ryan Takara Rambo, 15th Fanning, 16th Giban, 17th Neil, 18th Mark Hodgson, 19th Connor, and last but definitely not least, Geke Matthews. Of course, all results and positionings are subject to stewarding. Apologies, I was wrong. Geke did DNF. I was very wrong. I'm sorry for my bad facts there. But all results will be reviewed by stewards pending any reports and investigations. And just in case you enjoyed that enough, stick about because we've got Tier 4 coming in just 23 minutes.
No
Whew.
safety car in that race as well?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't put any money on it myself. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't have one in this race because for some reason Bahrain always throws up at least one, it seems, but not today.
Yep.
Anywho, thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, ding the bell, and just get freaky in the comments with us because we love it. But thank you, Rob, for joining me and keeping me sane. Someone's got to do it, and it was your turn, I guess, to babysit me.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a delight as always. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Take care and have a lovely evening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.